It's not scientific. It is pseudoscience. You hear the same thing over and over again. And I don't know if many people agree with me, but that's the purpose of the talk today. Because until we prove Ayurveda, at least in my opinion, scientifically to the point where the most up-to-date science correlates to Ayurveda, Ayurveda, to me at least, will not be as huge and people will not understand the power behind this ancient wisdom. And that's the entire purpose of my talk today. Now before I start, I'm going to give a bit of a background. I'm going to introduce myself and give a bit more of a history of how I came down this path. Because like Vanessa said, everyone's got their own unique life experience, everyone's got their own unique skills, everyone's got their own unique life purpose. And this is mine. So I was born in the UK, born in London. I had Asian parents, Sri Lankan parents, and I did well in school, and I got into medical school, I got into Leicester University. And my life was honestly, I didn't have much suffering. I had a beautiful, lovely family. I did well in exams, I got into medical school. But the suffering happened at the age of 24, 25. The suffering I had was, I went up to the medical school. They were, at the time, a lot of people getting kicked out in 4th year and 5th year. And it was unprecedented. A lot of people coming to me because they understood I had a certain level of knowledge about how to help people that were getting kicked out of medical school. So I helped them. And then when I helped them, I went up to the dean of the medical school and said, I'm getting so many calls from medical students. They're suicide, they're going to kill themselves. They spent all this money, they got into so much debt. And now they're getting kicked out. At least can we help them in any way? And the response at the time was to delete my phone number, change my phone number so I can't help them. And I just went up to him and said, no, I can't. That goes against my morals and that's not why I'm here today. I want some help from the medical school for these people. And after that, they started coming after me. I didn't realize. I was a young, naive 24. I didn't understand how the world works. I didn't understand how evil and how bad it could be. That's the truth. And long story short, as a Sri Lankan, I was born a Buddhist. And I just went to the temple at the time. And I just asked him for help. But then there was something missing at the time. I'd learned Buddhism from a young age. I understood the basic principles. And I was going to the temple and I used to see all the people, it was in North London, all people who are middle class, doing relatively well. You'd see the Mercedes and the BMWs outside. And everyone's there, to me, in my experience, you'll see how it comes full circle eventually. They're all kind of, they're not that happy, they're not that sad, they're just coming there and they're in the middle. And I was like, is this it? So then a friend of mine, a family friend of ours, who were Catholic, told me, come to the church, right? Come here and see what it's like. So I went. And then I saw, this was in East London, right? So people here genuinely had less in life. They had less money. But when I go there, they all come into the front saying, God has helped me, God has done this, they're happy, they're jubilant. And I was like, wow, Buddhism doesn't have this, right? But they're all grateful. And you'll see how everything I'm about to say is going to be connected to my entire speech soon, right? So they're all grateful, they're all so happy, right? And they're all believing in God. And I didn't learn about God in Buddhism. I learned about karma, I learned about reincarnation, I didn't learn about God. There's no God, as far as I know. But then I went there, and I went to a place called Lourdes, in France, which is a very holy place related to Mother Mary. And I went, and I said, I've done everything with a good intention. Help me, I don't know what to do. I ended up in Malta. My life changed. I ended up becoming a doctor in Malta. I practiced in a hospital called Mater Dei. If you look up the meaning of Mater Dei. And I didn't know where Malta was. But when I went, and when I found out a year after working in the hospital, guess what the meaning? If you Google Mater Dei Hospital, which is the only hospital in Malta, if you look up the meaning of it, it's Mother of God. The meaning, right? So I worked as a doctor. But the honest truth is, even as a doctor, even for the last year, I was like, well, I did this profession to be a healer. Am I genuinely becoming a healer, becoming a doctor, giving pills to treat symptoms? Is this what healing is all about? Then I looked everything up. I'm like, this can't be it. This can't be how you heal the human body, just treat symptoms. We don't know the cause of anything. After 2,000 years, we don't know how to treat anything. We're just giving pills to block the symptoms for every single condition. So I did Chinese medicine. I learned that at the first. After the first years I became a doctor, I did a master's in Chinese medicine. I learned acupuncture. I learned how the Chinese look at the human body, how they look at the universe, how they treat the human body using herbs and needles. And I did a master's in that and completed that in combination with Shanghai University. Then I came to Dr. Deepika. And I saw how ancient India, Sri Lanka used to treat them, how they use herbs, how they use diet, how they use all of this to treat human illness. And I was like, what is this? Like, I remember the first lecture, one of the first lectures, and you'll see how relevant all of this is at the end. One of the first lectures, imagine me now, I've got a very medical way of thinking, right? And I've learned Chinese medicine, but the first lecture, one of the first lectures, some of you are Ayurvedic practitioners here, so you might know what I mean, right? Or you might remember the lecture. The first lecture, she's talking about something called Sankhya philosophy, which is basically how the universe makes up. And I'm thinking, I'm used to learning about the anatomy, I'm used to learning about biochemistry, and she's talking about the universe. Right? How is this related to the human body? Right? How wrong I was, and you'll see at the end of this when I combine everything to science. Okay? And that was Ayurveda, and it opened my eyes so much. But still I was working as a doctor, so I was working in Malta, doing about 15 different specialities. And as I was in each specialty, I knew in my mind's eye I was never going to stay in this profession. Because I wanted to be a healer. I didn't want to give pills to treat symptoms, because that's all it is. It's a business-based medicine. It's every single person here, we all see the truth. But Ayurveda is still not big because of the science, right? In my view at least, right? So then I finished Ayurveda. I finished 15 different specialties. Then I had one of the biggest decisions in my life. To come back to the UK, finish GP training, which I had a post here already. It's an easy life. That's the truth as a GP in the UK. Right? People might say otherwise, but you do 3 years, you jump a bunch of hoops, and you can earn a good amount of money, have an easy life in this country. For me, I've got my family here, which I've got my friends, which I've grown up here. But then something was saying, Malta, if I stay, I could change something big. Right? But I didn't know. I didn't know the answer. It was one of the hard decisions. So I just looked up. I said, look, I've got a place in the UK, GP, and this is in the middle of COVID as well. And the honest truth is, I don't know what other people's view is. COVID to me opened my eyes even more. I looked at the world and said, this is going crazy. Well, how is everyone believing all of this? You just lock yourself up in the house, take this poison, do all this kind of stuff. I was like, what is going on? And then 2-3 days later, I got a letter from the GMC, or the General Medical Council in the UK, which is a regulatory body of doctors, saying it's too long, you need to do an English course. And because you haven't done an English course, even though you're born in the UK, you've done your A-levels in the UK, you've done a degree in the UK, you need to study English. So I was like, oh, perfect, that's the right son. That's the right son. And I stayed in Malta. I did a year working in emergency in a private hospital, treating every condition under the sun from a conventional setting. And I learned from the specialists when I didn't know what to do. I'd look up online to see what else I didn't know. I'd speak to the specialists of the field in a private hospital where people expect the top quality of care. Then after working for a year, I thought, okay, now I understand conventions. I've done all the specialties as a junior doctor. I've done emergency. COVID is happening. I don't agree with any of this. Let me just take the leap. This was 1 year ago, right? Let me just go and practice what I believe medicine is actually meant to be, right? Not this thing, this business-based medicine that I don't believe at all, especially after COVID, ruined my trust in what I was doing. So I did it. So I worked in a holistic center in Malta right now for the last year. Okay? And what I do genuinely from the bottom of my heart is, number one, I use vitamins and supplements. Why? Because one thing, there's Ayurvedic practitioners here, they might not agree, all of us treat differently, but why I use that is the agricultural system in the modern day world is not the same as it used to be 2,000 years ago. If the agriculture was fine, I don't think we need vitamins and IV vitamins and all this kind of stuff. But right now, if you look at the food processing in our modern world, if you look at the stress we're facing in the modern world, if you look at the alcohol, the smoking, all of this reduces mineral content, and just the food quality alone, unless you're growing your own food in a farm, completely organic, and eating no processed food, which is not 99.9% of us, well, a lot of us are going to be deficient in minerals. And the science does show improving your magnesium levels, improving your vitamin D levels, improving your vitamin C levels, improving certain minerals which are needed on a cellular level. Yes, I do prescribe vitamins, and I was doing that as a doctor, I didn't care. And I do that now IV as well. So I give IV drips as part of my treatment, and it's quite trending in the world, and in my view, for good reason. And on top of that, I'd give dietary advice, I give kind of lifestyle advice, all this kind of stuff. But I think within the last year, one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if the other practitioners would agree, a large number, probably the highest number, when I go into detail about a patient's life history, it's really always something, it's quite obvious when you follow the path. There's a big correlation between, I don't care if it's the abdominal pain or the back pain or the headache or whatever, when you go deep down and it's a chronic issue, mental health is always related to some extent or not, right? So I thought there has to be a way that I need to do it. And the modern day world, you need a quick fix in some way, right? And I thought, what's the solution right now? The solution right now is if you go to a psychiatrist, they don't get a pill. Is the root cause of mental health chemical imbalance? No. Then the other option is a psychotherapist, but they just talk to you, right? Is the root cause, can you truly get rid of a person's emotional trauma? Can you truly get rid of a person's physical trauma from a young age by purely talking? With my understanding from Ayurveda, which I learned in detail from Chinese medicine, when I learned that the human body is purely energetic, there's talking purely to everything. And that's now the purpose of my talk. How I do it and what I do, which is a different approach, I would say, to anything. I've kind of created my own. The fundamental question to understand, in my view, how to, I would say, treat all illness and actually treat society, the most important question, and Vanessa touched it, who are you? Right? I think this is the most important question. Right? I would say the second most important question is, what is your purpose in this world? These are the two most important questions in life, and that's the purpose of this quite thing today. And I want all of you to think about it. Genuinely right now, if I were to ask on the deepest level, the deepest level of your nature, who are you? How will you answer that? Does anyone have anything to say? I don't mind.
Pure consciousness.
I love that. Pure consciousness. Anything else?
My actions.
Your actions.
And my actions.
You are your actions. Okay?
I am me.
I am you.
I am me.
I love that. Any other answers?
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth. Great answers. I can tell I'm in an Ayurvedic conference. You won't get these answers anywhere else. Any other? Share travel? I love the honesty. Anyway, okay. Let me answer that question to the best of my ability. Okay? So right now, if you ask any conventional doctor, right, who are you? Right? Remember, I'm trying to use science throughout my whole thing. So if I go off tangent and go into a lot of detail, I'm going to be trying to explain extremely complicated science, believe me. But if there's any Ayurvedic practitioner here, and you get the criticism constantly that Ayurveda is not scientifically based, you can try to remember how I'm explaining the genuine science, the most up-to-date science, and saying Ayurveda is more scientific than anything in conventional medicine. And I'm going to give you the reason right now. Okay? So if you go to a medical school, if you go to a doctor and say, who are you? And you ask the question, who are you? Right? They will use biology, right? Which is the understanding of our anatomy. They'll understand your organs. Your organs are this, your tissues are this, your molecules are this, is how your heart works, this is how your brain works. They will talk about biology. How do they treat you? Through biology, through kind of cutting you open, fixing certain organs. There's nothing wrong with that, especially in emergencies. And then they will use chemistry, which has the chemical interactions, and use pharmaceutical medications to treat the chemistry. Did anyone here, out of all the answers, did anyone give biology? We are the body. We are an Ayurvedic institute for sure. There are some doctors here, maybe that might have been different. No one here answered, I am the human body. I am my anatomy. No one here answered, I am my chemistry, for a reason. We all know that intuitively. But this is how we treat the human body right now in the entire world. This is our current medical paradigm. It's based on Newtonian physics. Right, which Vandana Shiva yesterday said is completely outdated. Treating the body as if it's individual parts is completely outdated when you genuinely follow the science, which is how Ayurveda is criticized constantly. So then you have to think, what is reality? Who are we? Right? So if we're not the biology, we're not the chemistry, what comes next? What goes deeper? Physics. If you understand science, then you go biology. That's where, if I had to break it down as best as I can, right? So you've got your anatomy, you've got your biology, which is your anatomy, your muscles, your nerves, everything you can see, right, in a microscope. right? Then you go zoom. At the core of biology, you've got the cell, right? We are made up of cells. This is how I treat patients with IV therapy, for example. Because it treats patients at a cellular level, gets rid of toxins, and gives the nutrients the cells need. So it's good to have a cellular understanding for sure. That's not the deepest ending, right? So when then you break down the cell even further, so if I imagine the cell like this, and you zoom in, then you've got atoms, okay? You've got protons, so imagine an atom like a ball, okay? And in the center of the ball, you've got these protons and neutrons, surrounded by electrons. This is what if you've done kind of GCSE, if you remember back from the school days, in chemistry and physics, etc., this is what you learned, right? Like billiard balls, protons and neutrons surrounded by electrons. Remember, what I'm going to be doing right now is explaining, so if I go off at a tangent, remember, I'm going to explain science and Ayurveda and completely combine them with the most up-to-date science, which I don't think anyone can argue with. Now, you've got your protons and neutrons, so remember, you got your cell, go deeper, you got your atom, you got your protons and neutrons surrounded by your electrons. This is where we're going into the realm of physics, right, and how all of these interact with each other. Now we go into something called quantum physics, quantum mechanics more specifically, right? We go even deeper into the cell. And this is where we get these subatomic particles. And these subatomic particles, imagine you've got these billiard balls now. I'm going to be repeating myself so it sticks in your head, right? So I need that as well from a lecture sometimes, for sure, right? So you've got these protons and neutrons, you've got these electrons surrounding, you go even deeper, and you get something called quarks, right? And you go even, and that's called basics of quantum mechanics. And I'm going to give a bit of detail so you understand, for some of you who've got a scientific background. The problem with quantum mechanics is something called spin, but it's going to be very important to what I describe later, okay? So it's just, for now, just imagine you've got these balls, and they're just spinning, right? And there's 5 different types of spin. So you've got a really fast spinning ones, right? Which is a spin of 2. You've got a zero spin, which doesn't spin. And in between, you've got 3 different types of spin. And I'm going to go into a bit of detail, and you'll explain how at the forefront of science, we're coming to the beginning, the first lecture of Ayurveda right now. So we've got these 5 different types of spin. But the problem with quantum mechanics, if you speak to this, if you do all your research, go on AI, go on Google, go on YouTube, or whatever you want to do to find out information. The problem with this concept of spin, if you ask, what does this spin mean? They'll actually say it doesn't actually mean spin at all, right? They'll tell you that it's the kind of the force or the tendency to start spinning. They can't really fully explain it. But is quantum mechanics the most up-to-date science of understanding reality to our understanding right now? No. Exactly. It's quantum field theory, right? Quantum field theory basically says that all of these billiard balls that we all learned in science and chemistry and physics, they're not billiard balls at all, but they're all excitations of an overlying field. So what we've actually got now is 5 different fields. Now, if you contemplate that in your mind, imagine 5 different spinning fields. Okay, I'm going to give some terms, and you're going to see the relation, especially the Ayurvedic practitioners in you. You're going to see the relations in a minute. Now, if you look up the first one, a spin of 0. Okay, it's called the Higgs boson. People call it the God particle, right? And there's a lot of hype about this, right? And I'm going to explain what this is, right? So the important thing about the Higgs boson, which is a spin of 0, which is the most up-to-date understanding of reality in science right now, based on quantum field theory. Everything I'm saying, by the way, you can look up the science yourself, and the quote thing I'm quoting, dr.shehan.com, everything's there, okay? I'm being completely transparent. So we've got the Higgs boson. It gives particles mass, right? What of the Pancha Mahabhutas right now, right? For the Ayurveda. So the 5 elements of the zodiac. So I'm going to remind you, the people that remember, right? You've got 5 elements. You've got earth, you've got water, you've got fire, you've got air, and you've got space. Probably the first ever lecture you learned in Ayurveda, right? So imagine the spin of 0. We've got 5 fields now. Now the spin of 0, which is this Higgs field right now, the forefront of science. A spin of 0, what does it do? It gives particles mass. So a spin of 0 that gives particles mass, we can correlate that to the earth element in Ayurveda. Because we understand in Ayurveda, the first lecture of Ayurveda describes that the 5 elements are the 5 frequencies or vibrations of the universe. Right? This is what you've learned in the first lecture of Ayurveda. So if the Higgs field gives particles mass, we understand that we can correlate this to earth. And this is based on a paper written in about 1980s by a renowned quantum physicist called James Higgins, who describes all of this, and it's all on the website. Now this is the spin of 0. Now you've got the next field, the spin of 1/2. So the second fastest, okay, which gives particles, when you understand quantum field theory, it's what gives elements, basically when you combine it with the Higgs field, it creates a superfield, which is called the matter field, which gives particles matter. And if you think about Ayurveda, when you combine earth, and you combine that with water, which is next, what do you get? The thing that gives elements structure, kapha dosha. Okay? Next I want to move to the next one, right? And when you think of the water field right now, what comes under this matter field, right? With a spin of 1/2. If you look under what comes up, you've got quarks, which is what makes those protons and neutrons in the center, and leptons, which is the electrons going around. So if you understand the basis of physics right now, and you combine that with the Higgs boson, this is the element of the structure. Next, you've got a spin of 1. The field with a spin of 1 right now is related to 2 subatomic particles called photons and gluons. Now think what a photon is, if any of you understand. It's the basic fundamental subatomic particle of light. So have a think, what if you're any Ayurvedic practitioners, which one out of 5 elements could be associated with light? What comes next? Right, so 5, 100%, right? And look at what photons do. The sun, we know, it gives off photons. Plants need these photons for photosynthesis, for glucose production. We need these photons to come into our retina, and when we have these photons in our retina, this is how we can see reality, right? So what do we associate with fire in Ayurveda? We associate it with light. We associate it with heat. We associate it with transformation. This is what photons do. I'm going to go a bit of a tangent before I go on to the last 2 Panchalavbhutas, right? Again, I'm going to combine science right now. That's the whole thing, that's the whole purpose of this talk. And then I'm going to try to, after this, I want people to, at the end in Ayurveda, we always say, to understand the truth, you need to understand the truth on a mental level, but then after that, you need to feel it yourself. So I'm going to be finishing off to feel what I'm saying as well. So anyway, we've got these photons, so if you remember what I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning, right? Go up to the underlying nature of reality, you understand you've got protons and neutrons and electrons surrounding it. You've got photons as well, which comes from light. You've got these 5 fields. Now we need to combine that with our understanding of the human body somehow, right? So, what is the most important energetic synthesis in Ayurveda? And can we prove that? In Ayurveda, we've got these kind of energy centers in our body, right? We call them chakras in Ayurveda, right? We've got 7 chakras in the body. In Chinese medicine, these are important acupuncture points which I use all the time, right? Conception vessel 4, conception vessel 6, conception vessel 12, conception vessel 17, 22, yin tang, and government vessel 20. In Ayurveda, we call them the 7 chakras, right? And they're all associated with certain colors. This is going to be important in a minute when I explain the science behind this. Now, in Ayurveda, we describe the 7 chakras, we associate them with 7 colors, by the way, right? And before this, I'm going to give a kind of my own experience with this, okay? So like I mentioned at the beginning, I work a lot with the subconscious because I realize after working, like a lot of people have got these mental health issues, right? A lot of people have got this voice in their head which says a lot of bad things. I need to find a solution now. I don't want them to come to me again and again and again. I want to find a solution now. So I've looked up every psychological method I can. I try to understand the energetic system. And basically all I do with mental health is work with the subconscious. Now before, I want all the Ayurvedic practitioners here to think about what is happening in this genuine patient maybe a month ago. It's a personal example of mine. And even if not, on an intuitive level, think what was happening to this patient in front of me just now. So I was working with a subconscious. A patient, in essence, they were having a huge phobia of motorbikes. They had a huge problem with self-esteem. And they were coming to me with 100% anxiety and depression about a number of things. And I kind of want to create a solution now, because it's the modern world we live in. If I tell them to do diet and all this kind of stuff, I need to do something now, right? So what I did is I worked with the subconscious. I understood where everything fits. I understood why things were the way they are. Now I need to work with the subconscious to help release kind of all this trauma, etc. Right? And normally in my experience, when I do this, people talk about their childhood, they talk about their family, they talk about things people have said to them in their past. That all comes out, and I'm very used to people kind of crying, or I can see some people getting angry sometimes. It's just coming out of the system, and then it just transforms at the end. This is how the process works. But this was very unusual, and I didn't expect this either. The first time I said, I basically did all my work, and I said, "What do you see right now? What came to your mind?" And she said, "I'm seeing a lot of red," right? And she described this red kind of sensation all over in her mind's eye. And her symptoms were getting worse. But I'm used to symptoms getting worse at the beginning, right? She was getting neck pain and back pain everywhere. She's like, "I'm getting worse." And I said, "Yes, I can imagine. Trust the process and we'll continue." Then I said again, "Continue." And then we'll continue with the subconscious stuff. And I said, "What do you see right now?" And she described a silhouette in red again. Not getting much better. That's the truth, right? And I'm summarizing a 4-hour kind of consultation. That's the truth. Then I continued. Seeing like lava, like orange lava, right? Symptoms are still there, but they're different places now in her body, right? Different pains all over her body now. Continued. What do you see now? The sun. And if you don't have any, some of you in Ayurveda might understand what's happening, but I'll explain all of this in a minute, right? What do you see now? I see like a lot of yellow. I can't explain it. Next, after that, see loads of different colors, but there's blobs of green. And now she's getting better and better, right? Blue, purple, white. I was shocked at this point, right? I couldn't believe what happened. I didn't expect this. That's the honest truth, right? But then how it finished? Now all the symptoms, anxiety's gone 100%, like now to 0%. All the depression, self-esteem, all to 0%. But I always try to create a transformation, not just get rid of symptoms. Because my aim at the end of every consultation is to get as close to your true self as possible, because that's Ayurvedic healing at a nutshell, right? Your true self is consciousness, like you described. So I continued, because I'm not a consciousness net. That doesn't mean a reduction of symptoms. It means reaching consciousness. So I continued, like in every consultation. And then after a while, she starts hearing, "I am great." She's in her mind. I said, "What do you hear now? What do you hear now?" "I am great. I am beautiful. I am perfect." Blah blah blah. Affirmations, basically, right? Then after this, which astounded me, what do you hear now? "You are great. You are beautiful. You have," etc. And I don't know if many of you can interpret what we're saying, but I'm going to continue talking about the chakras right now, right? With that example from a month ago in mind. And Ayurveda we talk about there are 7 chakras, which are energy centers. I'm going to now go back to the science. What these chakras are, we can explain. In Chinese medicine we have them, but you can't go to a doctor. I can't go to my doctors right now and talk about chakras unless I have the science. So what are chakras from the science? From an Ayurvedic point of view, let me just summarize for the Ayurvedic people who are not Ayurvedic practitioners or don't know much about Ayurveda here. From an Ayurvedic point of view, so the chakras are basically portals between what we call our physical body, our astral body, and our causal body. Right? This is what chakras are in a nutshell, right? And we've got 7 of these energy centers in our body, and these are associated with the color red, the first chakra, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, with white when it's fully kind of all the chakras are activated. These are the colors associated with it. But is there a scientific background behind the chakras? Look where they are. That's all I would say to the doctor. Look exactly where every single chakra is. What's there as well? A huge nerve plexus. A big bundle of nerves in all of these places. You can correlate it. There's scientific evidence showing the first chakra we can associate with the inferior hypogastric plexus, the superior hypogastric plexus, the second chakra, the celiac plexus, the third chakra, the cardiac plexus, the fourth chakra, the cervical plexus, the fifth chakra, the pineal gland, the sixth chakra, the hypothalamus, the seventh chakra. So we know now. Now you'll see how I'm going to combine this to quantum physics and everything I just described in quantum physics at the beginning. We know that these chakras are associated with these big nerve plexuses, right? And we know if you've got nerves, what are these nerve plexuses going to supply? All the endocrine glands in the body, right? It's going to supply the adrenal glands, our sex hormones, so our digestive tract, our thyroid hormones, our pituitary hormones, the hypothalamus, which is at the center of everything, which is the command center, right? So we now know that these chakras are related to these nerve plexuses. You just have to look at the human body, pick up any anatomy textbook to understand that. And when you understand you've got nerves, they supply organs, these supply hormones. These hormones cause a lot of the hormonal issues in our body. So then the question is, how do you heal the chakra? Right? That's the obvious question, right? But the first question actually is to see how they exist even further. And when you then look at from a scientific point of view, and you understand we are entire electric, the entire body is electric. And let me explain this. If you speak to a doctor, and how I learned in medical school, is we've got blood vessels going around our body, we've got our anatomy, etc. But then you understand that every single cell in our body would die if it wasn't for a negative charge that's constantly maintained within them. We also learn this in medical school. It's not given that much attention. We also learn we measure the electrical activity of the heart. Any doctor does. How? Through an ECG. We measure the electrical activity of the brain through what? An EEG. We measure the electrical activity of the muscles through what? An EMG. Right? And what's electrical activity is related to every physiological process in the body. It's not given the attention it deserves in conventional medicine. But this is who we are. And when you understand that, you understand every time you've got these electrons flowing. I hope some of you are still with me. I'm going into quite some detail. Right? Every time you've got these electrons flowing, what's produced? A magnetic field. Okay? So imagine throughout your body. Imagine your nerve plexuses now. You've got a magnetic field, right? Because we know this from physics. Every time you've got a charge flowing, a magnetic field that goes around, right? When you've got this magnetic field that goes around your big nerve plexuses, where there's going to be a lot of electrons flowing, what are you going to be measuring? You're going to potentially have scientific proof of the ancient chakra system, or the famous, or some of the most important Chinese medicine points. This is where we've already got studies. These studies exist. Someone just needs to put all of this together. That's the truth, in my opinion. And so there's a lot of studies that come to mind, but the most, I think, is very hard for any doctor or any scientist to argue with something called the Wolf study. And that's the one I'll just explain now in a nutshell to explain this. So the Wolf study, you can look it up. It's again on my website, dr.deepika, but you can go on Google, type in Wolf study by the UCLA and Valerie Hunt in 1980s, I think it was, right? What she did is she got internationally renowned aura healer. So a person who can basically see what we describe as an aura. I want you to first think about what an aura means to you, right? Think about every spiritual leader we ever think of. Think of the Buddha. Think of Jesus Christ. What do you always think in the pictures that you see? What do you always see? Like a kind of a halo around them, right? Exactly. Right? Or an aura. What is that? Right? What is that? Can we measure that? Do people actually have this? But there are people in the world who can see what this aura is, right? And you then have to think in your mind, how did the Buddha gain this aura, right? What did he do? What did Jesus Christ do to get this aura? What did all these spiritual and religious do? Think about it. What did they do? The Buddha just sat under a Bodhi tree, he meditated. I don't think he did anything that complicated, right? What did Jesus do? He prayed, right? So through meditation or prayer, you somehow get what seems like light given off a person's body through a person's head, somehow, right? This is what all the pictures all of us have seen. We see, right? So can we potentially scientifically measure this now, right? So my point is, so I'm going back to the Wolf study. What they did is they put electrodes on people's hands and on their chakra system. So they were able to measure the bioelectricity given off the patients. And at the same time, they used 3 methods to measure a person's frequency being given off. They used something called Fourier analysis, which basically measures frequency. They measured sonograms and waveform analysis, which basically measures frequency over time and waveforms. Why is this important? If you understand, for example, Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. Think about Einstein. Energy equals mass times the speed of light. So energy and matter are completely correlated, and mass is just a condensed form of energy. So when you understand that, you can understand why they were assessing frequency and wavelength. And what they found is they were doing a massage, similar to Panchakarma, they're doing a massage, it's called growth, right? Where patients with severe trauma were being dealt with, and they were measuring this. They were using this aura reader to assess each patient whilst they went through this massage. And what they found is certain frequencies commonly were given off at the same time. What they found is when patients were going through physical pain, a red frequency was given off, right? And they found the frequency and the wavelength, and they associated with this red frequency, right? And a scientifically objective study, which anyone can find. When the patient was emotionally dealing with their pain, an orange frequency was given off, which the aura reader was seeing in real time and was measured objectively with the free objective scientific data. When the aura reader saw yellow, the patient was intellectually dealing with their mental health issues. So they physically dealt with it, they emotionally dealt with it, now they're intellectually trying to get over this pain. Right? So it was yellow frequency was given off. The aura reader could see it in the chakra, they could see it in the aura. And in Ayurveda, we know that the chakras are related to our auras as well. We call them koshas in Ayurveda. As the patient continued, we saw when there was a blue, for example, frequency, associated with calmness. When there's a violet frequency being given off, we associated with kind of spiritual ascendance. And what was quite interesting, they noticed a quick frequencies changing from red to yellow to orange, from red to orange to yellow to green to blue very quickly. Can anyone think what that might have been? In Ayurveda, we describe something called Kundalini, which is an ascension of spiritual energy traveling to the top. And when you see this ascension of red to orange to yellow to blue, and the patient at the same time, whilst they're seeing this on the objective scientific data, they're seeing this and they're saying they're kind of having an out-of-body experience. This was shown in the study which with a number of scientists doing. This isn't the only study, this is just the one that came off the top of my head now, to be honest, right? There's a number of others. We use, for example, Kirlian photography. We use gas visualization discharge, which basically measures the photons that's given off all the light. So when I mentioned the 5 different fields in science, and I mentioned light one, the one associated with fire, photons. We currently measure photons given off every cell of our body. We're currently using these photons to be able to assess, currently at the forefront of science, whether a person is predisposed to cancer, how healthy a person is. And we're using it right now. I use it. It's one of the treatments I currently use in my own practice. It's called biophotospectrometry. It's at the forefront of science. Basically what they use, they take a bit of your hair, they kind of check it for loads of different things like heavy metals, minerals, vitamins, etc. They shine light through it, and they're able to use basically the light that's given off your hair, using this everything I've just described, to assess the amount of heavy metals in your body, the amount of minerals and vitamins. And for me as a holistic doctor, that's quite important. Why? Because in most, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, to assess all the heavy metals in your body, to assess every minerals in your body and every vitamin. Number one, the conventional system in Malta can't do that. I don't think in the UK they might be able to either. They don't do that, and if you can, it costs a lot of money, right? So right now, the forefront of science, we're using light to not just diagnose, but to treat as well, okay? So this is light, so I've just taken a bit of a detour. Another study that comes to mind is something called the copper wall study. And this is important so you understand the fundamental nature of healing based on what Ayurveda is talking about. The copper wall study was again done in the 1980s. They all seem to be coming from the 1980s. They're not even that new, that's the problem with this. And it's a copper wall study. It's a famous, I think it was 1985 to 1987 or something like this, right? The copper wall study had in people who were renowned hands-on healers, international renowned hands-on healers. They surrounded the room with copper walls, and they attached electrodes to those copper walls. Why did they use copper? Because copper is very conductive. Now what they did is they assessed if they can assess any electrical discharge from these healers to scientifically prove if these healers can do much, right? And what they found is an electric field 10,000 times the strength of the heart, which is currently to our best understanding is what gives off the highest electromagnetic field. But of these healers, a frequency 10,000 times more is coming from their abdomen. Now, I think the same thing is in Ayurveda, but in Chinese medicine we definitely know all the Qigong experts always say the Qi comes from the lower abdomen. And I think in Ayurveda we've got the first chakra, everyone always says a lot of us are stuck there and get a lot of our prana from that area. But this is what they found in that study, it's called a copper wall study. But then I want to take this one step further, right? So we understand the chakras, there's scientific proof of the chakras, there's scientific proof saying there's bioelectricity given off the bottom, for sure. But then what about the nadis? So in Ayurveda we've got nadis. And these are the same thing as Chinese medicine, what we call the meridians. Now these are energy channels throughout the entire body. Can we prove these as well now? Now, This is where, when we look at the more forefront of science right now, we're seeing an 80% correlation between what we call fascial planes and acupuncture, which are very similar to the nadis in Ayurveda. And fascia, just to understand, because I understand everyone doesn't have a scientific background, fascia is basically what covers our entire body, right? So doctors, we don't pay much attention to it in Western medicine unless it gets inflamed or something like this, but it covers everything. It covers our muscles, it covers our nerves, it covers our arteries, it covers everything. And what they found is these planes, so where one fascia finishes and one starts in, there's an 80% correlation, if you look at the science right now, between acupuncture points and these fascial planes. And why is that important? Because these points they've also found is where there's a lower electrical impedance. What that basically means is easier for electricity to flow. So right now in West, any doctor, they'll tell you, you've got arteries, you've got nerves. So what might be faster? The electrons flowing with it. Doesn't need to be all this cellular apparatus, it just flows right through the fascial apparatus. So therefore it might explain that acupuncture and marmar therapy, when we're doing this kind of therapy, it's not just about healing your back pain or your neck pain. When you put a needle or when you do things in your leg, you have effects on your head. And this is being proven. To me, what's astounding is acupuncture, how it's not in the NHS in the UK and how it's not the equivalent in the entire world. If you look at the studies, you've got meta-analysis and systematic reviews, which is at the highest quality of evidence. And when you look at acupuncture alone, and you can even argue acupuncture is potentially derived from marmar therapy and Ayurveda. You could potentially argue that as well. You've got the best quality science right now saying acupuncture helps with fertility, with digestion, with anxiety, with depression, with all the conditions. You have the top quality studies proving this right now. But it's still not offered under NHS. It's still not offered as a normal thing across the world. It's crazy when you look at the science. That's not as the bit. But we can prove nadis now, which is very related to acupuncture. We can definitely explain acupuncture points and meridians. We can explain the chakras in the entire body. We can explain this due to the electricity which I described. The electrons, which is part of the matter field. The quarks, which make up the protons and neutrons in the center, is part of that field as well. And we've got photons, which are light. And we've got something called the biofield, which is at the forefront of science right now. And guess what the biofield talks about? How the entire body is completely connected, how it uses electricity to communicate, how it uses light to communicate. That's in a nutshell what we describe when we're talking about the biofield. But then they continue talking. If you went into more detail, you go into understanding the biofield and understanding this a communication system and it's the forefront of science, the forefront of healing. Then you understand they talk about quantum science, and you keep going back again to quantum science now, which makes me finish the last bit. So we've described the Higgs field, which gives particles mass when combined with the equivalent of water, which is the matter field. Then you've got the force field, which creates the photons, which is related to fire. Now the biggest question, go to wherever if you're interested in these kind of topics, go to any YouTube or any scientific paper or any quantum science book and look. What's one of the two biggest questions in the world that scientists can't explain? Gravity and antimatter. Okay? They can't explain this, right? It doesn't make sense. And I'll explain why they can't explain this as well. When they talk about antimatter and gravity, they're talking about large sun. They talk about how it makes sense on a large scale. It makes sense when you think about the sun. It makes sense when you think about stars and the moon. Why? Because it changes space-time around it. But they always say, the moment you go to the subatomic space, the moment you go to quantum science, gravity doesn't exist. So, that's when they talk about, when you look at what we talked about from 1987, when you look what gravity does, it changes time-space. It changes movement of our things. We can't measure it right now with gravity. We can't measure because it's hard to measure with our current science. But if we know on a macro scale, gravity is what causes movement, is what causes the movement of the planets. And this is what antimatter is related to as well. And what this quantum scientist, a renowned quantum scientist in 1980 said, is imagine we just correlate this movement on a quantum scale and give the fastest spin, a spin of 1.5, and the spin of 2. What if the graviton and the gravitino, which are related to movement, can be related to vata and can relate to air and ether? And this would create what we describe as a unified field, which is what Albert Einstein, which is what Max Planck, and which was Erwin Schrödinger have all agreed that we have some sort of unified field, but we can't explain it. And they describe it, maybe this is what consciousness is. And then it comes back to a full circle. Dr. Deepika's first ever lecture. First ever lecture. At the very beginning, you have Purusha, pure consciousness. Then he goes through a few steps and you have the 5 Panchamahabhutas, the 5 elements. Those combination of those 5 elements create Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is completely related when you think about it and you follow the science to the 3 superfields. The matter superfield, the gauge superfield, and gravity. And you can explain all of this through So if anyone ever tells you that Ayurveda is not based on science, Ayurveda is based on more science than conventional medicine currently right now. This is the future of medicine. So when people say Ayurveda is not going to become big, I think if you believe in science, which is the current paradigm of our time, Ayurveda is the future. I'm going to finish with one thing and I'll give you my reasoning behind it. So this is not everything. So this is basically explaining the first lecture of Ayurveda in essence, right? Nothing special if you've done Ayurveda. Okay, we've kind of proven through science what we normally know, intuitively, right? Is that great? I'll give you one further thing before I go on to feeling the truth, not just understanding on an intellectual level, right? So healing is not just about healing us as an individual, is it? In Ayurveda, ideally, the solution is to create collective healing. Healing across the world. World peace. Inflation. Look at the amount of suffering in the world. Is there a solution? Right? What do we say in Ayurveda is a solution to this? What do we say is what I said at the very beginning of the speech? What is the solution to world peace? What is the solution to healing everything in Ayurveda? We say the moment you access consciousness, Purusha, this is when the entire body starts healing. This is when you can, if we access that, we can create, when we can create healing on a societal level, not just individual. And can prove this scientifically. This is what every doctor will tell you, right? What if we can? Right now we've got 2 institutes across the world. One, I want to explain the first one, the second one, and I'm going to do it right now to every single person here. So, we've got the HeartMath Institute. The HeartMath Institute measures something called heart rate variability. What that basically means is if your heart is, as a doctor, you understand the heart rate. We say if the heart rate is fast, it's not good. If the heart rate is slow, it's not good. But when we measure that, when we follow the HeartMath Institute, and you'll see how this again relates to Ayurveda, what we've been saying for thousands of years. When we measure the heart rate variability, which is the rhythm of the heart, we can assess when they've got a high heart rate variability, they're more predisposed to stroke, to heart attacks, to diabetes, to all of these conditions. And when they've got a slow heart rate variability, so the heart rate is not varying much between heartbeat, then they've got a higher risk of all of those. So we're able to measure this heart rate variability with precision and good quality science right now. HeartMath Institute are doing this, right? And they're able to see with a person with high heart rate variability, what happens? When their heart rate variability is high, obesity goes down, heart attacks go down, stroke goes down, everything comes back down to the heart. What in Ayurveda have we said is the root of what we call the Manavaha Shotas? Where does that reside? Where does that start? The heart. Where does the Atman or the soul in Ayurveda reside? The heart. Where does the Shen in Chinese medicine reside? The heart. So if we want the solution, potentially HeartMath have picked up on something, and then maybe they're proving something through science, that the solution is heart. How you can increase your heart rate variability even now. And from this speech going on forward, they've been able to show objectively that people that show high amounts of gratitude, love, appreciation, have a much higher heart rate variability, and those with a low heart rate variability, such as people who have a lot of frustration, stress, anger, they've got a lower heart rate variability, right? So they're able to show this. They've shown that when you've got long periods of appreciation, gratitude, love, they call something called coherence. It's a posh scientific name to basically say all the physiological functions in your body start getting better when you start experiencing love, appreciation, gratitude on a daily basis, right? Comes back down to what I was saying before. At the age of 18, I saw all these Christians, all these Catholics. I'm grateful for God, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. Religion might have something. Then I want to finish as well. which is what I'm going to start, what I'm going to do my practice on in a minute. Maharishi Siddhi. And again, the 1980s or 1990s, but there's still studies going on right now. That if I off the top of my head, is about 118 scientific studies doing something called transcendental meditation. I don't know if many of you have heard of it, right? What he's been able to show, I'll just explain transcendental meditation to anyone here. Transcendental meditation is different to your normal type of meditation. If you imagine a sea and you imagine the waves on top, instead of concentrating on the waves on top, which are your thoughts, you go deep into consciousness, Purusha, whatever word you give it. And how you do that is you use a mantra, such as Om, Om Shrim, etc. and go deeper into the subconscious. And why this is relevant right now, is when we're talking about not just individual healing, but collective healing as well, is what he's able to objectively prove, scientifically, that on a societal level, when 1% of the, this is all on Dr. Shehan, the science is all there, when 1% of the population did this together, his technique of transcendental meditation, which is just meditation with going using a mantra, he was able to prove definitively from then and there forward, crime rate went down, rape went down, homicide went down, quality of life improved. If you think about it from an Ayurvedic point of view, or from a quantum science point of view right now, if you want to genuinely improve the world, is there any better way than using the fabric of existence, consciousness itself, and using that to change not just on an individual level, but on a societal level as well? Because when you're accessing consciousness in a group, 1% of the population, you can create these types. He's had 180 studies showing that it's not just on a country level, but on a global scale as well. Coming down to the point that Ayurveda is not only the solution, in my opinion, and it's not only the most scientific healing method that exists and that will ever exist with our current most understanding of science. It's potentially the solution to world peace or improving the problems in our world today. It's been saying the same thing for 5,000 years that scientific studies are proving right now. So, saying that, I'm going to try, I'm going to be honest, I've done this on a regular basis to individual patients for the last 5 minutes. I'm going to explain my process about what I'm going to do. So, what I do on a daily basis is work on the subconscious. That's the honest truth. And how I do that is activate every single energy center in the body and then work on the subconscious. I've not done it in a group, that's the honest truth. I do it on an individual basis for the last year all the time. But if these scientific studies make sense, if Ayurveda makes sense, then logically speaking, in a collective setting, it would make an even bigger difference. If you follow what Maharishi is doing, if you understand what he's doing, if you understand what heart math is doing, if you combine that with the energy centers in the body, if you combine that with the acupuncture meridians in the body, the neuroacupuncture points in our mind, if you combine that with love, compassion, gratitude, you combine it with mantra, surely this, if there's any solution to the problems in the world, maybe this is that. Maybe the solution has been in Ayurveda for day long. So I'm going to try it right now for the last 5 minutes. How does that sound? Yeah? So, I want everyone right now, if you can, so I'm going to explain it as well. I'm going to connect everything. So if you guys, this might be hard for a lot of you. So if you don't feel comfortable, it's not a problem. I'm going to again explain my rationale. So I see the human body in 3 different forms of medicine. So it's a very different way of thinking compared to a lot of people. So in Ayurveda or Buddhism, we have something called the lotus posture. And I see the lotus posture in a different way. Because I know acupuncture. And I know 2 of the most scientific acupuncture points in Chinese medicine. And all of this is 2 points. Spleen 6 and stomach 36. When you look at the science, exactly, when you look at the scientific studies, and when you understand Chinese medicine, it's huge. You kind of lose them with every patient. But now think about the lotus posture. This is touching the ground, the other way is touching here, right? Which is huge. Somehow, maybe the Ayurveda, maybe a lot of things have got lost in translation. A lot of things have got, but when you look at the lotus posture, you're hitting 2 of the biggest acupuncture points. And why I'm saying this right now is if there's any way, I know some people might find it hard to get into that position. Some people might find it difficult, and that's fine. Do whatever you feel comfortable, a half lotus position, a lotus position, whatever. That's genuinely the best in my position, because what I'm trying to do is increase the energy centers in the body right now. So if you can do that right now, do it. If not, that's fine. Stay like that. And what I'm going to do right now as well, to activate the entire energy center very good, To activate the entire energy center. Very good. Because I want everyone to feel it. Because one thing we explain quantum science and everything in detail, but I want everyone here to feel what I'm saying. So, very good. Very good. I'll give you some time to take this off. Because I have to think about it, take time to take off shoes. Very good. Amazing. And one thing I'm going to do as well, right? I'm going to explain another thing, right? In Ayurveda, we have some, In Ayurveda, we have things called mudras, right? And mudras are very powerful. I know this is how I created the thing at the very beginning. So I want all of you to follow this mudra when we start the meditation, which I'm about to do right now. I want you to put the right hand underneath the left hand, and I want you to put the left thumb over the right thumb. Okay, so right hand underneath the left hand, the left thumb over the right thumb, and bring your hands up to around your belly button. This is the mudra for intuition. Okay? So this is how I somehow create these. Even though I can't, this is something I can't scientifically prove, by the way, right? But I'm seeing the results, that's the truth. So create this position, okay? And this is where, not now, in a minute, because I'm going to get the energy centers to wake up first. So right after me, copy me to activate every single energy center in the body without a single link. Alright? So, I want you to copy after me right now. Okay, this is a technique I've created myself, using something called emotional freedom technique, which is scientifically proven to help a lot of kind of mental health illnesses. I've combined that with some of the techniques I use in energy healing myself, and kind of created my own. Basically, to explain the logic behind it, we have six energy channels running through our hands, 6 energy channels running through our legs, 1 running through the front, 1 running through the back. When you understand where they begin and end, this is how you can technically activate every single energy center in the body, which is important if you understand the entire body is energetic. So, follow after me. I'm going to do a number of movements, and in your mind, say, I have every intention to increase the energy throughout my entire body right now. Start with this. Hit hard, hit this. This is lift, large intestine 4. Keep going. Good. I'm going to increase the energy throughout my body. Say that in your mind's eye right now. Good. Next one. I'm going to increase the energy in throughout my entire body right now. Small intestine 3. Good. Go arms in circles, and keep bending all your hands like this. Good. Going to increase the energy level throughout my entire body. Say that in your mind's eye. And the other way now. Very good. Bend your hands like this. Very good. Going to increase the energy levels in my body. Now with your feet, the 6 in your feet, so in circles, bending and kind of extending your feet at the same time with one foot. Very good. Very good. Or both feet at the same time, that's fine. Good. Okay, so activating the energy centers in your legs as well. Right now, in your head, this is your 7th chakra and governor vessel 20. Hit right, if you put your ears like this, hit that right now. I'm going to increase the energy center in my body. So your top chakra, around your eyes, 1 in the middle, 1 on the out, 1 on the bottom. Hit this alternatively. So I'm going to increase the energy levels throughout my body right now. Very good. Bottom of the top of the lip. I'm going to increase the bottom of my head. This is governor vessel. And here, I'm going to increase the energy levels throughout my body. Top two more left. I'm going to hit your hands using this so that the tip of your fingers, they all touch. I'm going to increase the energy levels throughout your body like you mean it. And last one, underneath your armpits. I'm going to increase the energy levels throughout my body. Very good, I can hear that. Amazing. Now, we're going to finish with the meditation. So if you remember the pose I described. Right hand, remember this with your patience as well. And you can look up every word I'm saying. Right hand under left hand. Left thumb over right thumb. Up to your elbow, up to your belly button. And you can, when you feel ready, close your eyes. I want you to focus on your breath. I want you to take a deep breath in and out. And as you take a deep breath in, focus on the air at the tip of your nose. and out. And again, even deeper and slower. So deep breath in and out. And as you keep this pace of breath, I want you to focus in your heart right now. Focus on the area around your heart and set an intention that is to raise your energy and feel the deep level of subconsciousness within you. Experience it for yourself. Whatever feels right for you. As you set that intention in your heart right now, with your back completely straight, your chakras completely aligned, your head tilted forward, your muscles completely relaxed throughout your body, continue taking deep breaths in and out, feeling completely comfortable. As you continue taking deep breaths in and out, I want to focus on those tiny muscles around your eyes. Focus on them right now, maybe. And as you focus on them, feel them getting heavier and heavier, like a TV turning off, like a computer shutting down. So relaxed, as if it's glued right shut. Maybe the more you try to open them, the more closed and shut, stuck they feel. And as you feel this level of relaxation in your eyelids, allow it to spread throughout your entire body. Feeling that relaxation in your head, your neck, your shoulders, your chest completely relaxed. Your abdomen, your legs, your feet. When you feel this level of relaxation, focus in the space between your eyes. As you focus on the space between your eyes, notice anything you may see. If there's a dot, a light, or nothing, it's fine. Focus. And as you focus on this light, this empty space in between your eyes, I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. As I count down from 10 to 1, notice you may feel getting more and more relaxed, getting deeper and deeper into the subconscious. 10. You may notice your muscles getting warm and relaxed. 9. The blood flowing slower, slower, making your muscles feeling warmer and warmer. 7. Completely relaxed. 6. Deeper and deeper. 5. Muscles may be feeling heavier and warmer. 4. Deeper and deeper. 3. Twice as relaxed as the beginning, at least. 2. 5 times more relaxed. 10 times more relaxed. 1. 20 times more relaxed. When you're in this deep state of complete focus on every word I'm saying, a complete sense of relaxation, in your mind's eye right now, say the term Om. For the next 30 seconds, repeat that mantra to go deeper to the subconscious. As you're in a level of deep relaxation right now, I want you to think about one thing you genuinely love about yourself. Maybe your God-given gift. Why you are here in this world right now. You visualize that. And as you feel this sense of love for yourself, allow that to spread throughout your entire body. In gratitude and appreciation in every cell of your body as you picture exactly what about yourself you love. As you think about this, think if there's anything in your life right now where you can be, where you know you can be, which you can achieve using this God-given gift while you're here in this world right now. If you see that vision of yourself, ask a power beyond yourself right now for guidance and wisdom to achieve that. With a sincere request, a purpose bigger than yourself. And feel that, embody that with every cell of your being right now. Feel how much love you have for yourself as that person right now. As you visualize that image you've got in your mind's eye right now, thank whatever you may call it, that force above yourself. And whilst you have this elevated sense of love throughout every cell of your body right now, think of the person in this world, past or present, who you love with all of your heart, and picture them right now. Now feel that love intensify. Visualize them. Speak to them. Thanking them for everything they gave you in this life. See them in your mind's eye right now as you feel an even more elevated sense of love and gratitude and appreciation. With this heightened sense of energy throughout your entire body, spreading around your physical body. Feel the level of energy throughout your body and everyone around you right now. And spread it. Spread that level of love, of compassion to every human being in this room. The gratitude to have to meet everyone here, to speak to everyone here. And feel it in your heart right now. And visualize it. Look at the country we're living in right now. Whether it's London, or it's the UK, the feeling of innate bliss and love that you feel in your heart right now, spread it to the entire country. And finally, the entire world, ever bliss, ever love, ever gratitude, spread it right now to everyone in the world. Everyone's suffering is your suffering, everyone's bliss is your bliss. And I finish. I count back to 1 to 5. Because you're going to start to want to move again, you want to start moving, open your eyes. You're just going to integrate this level of love, this level of bliss inside your heart. Let it reintegrate through your entire life. 1, I feel like moving your hands, feet. 2, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. 3, I feel like moving as this integrates the subconscious level. 4, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. 5. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.